I'm Aaron Baker from PhoneDog.com, and we continue our review series with part 2 of the Samsung Galaxy S4 Mini full video review. Is this thing worth buying, or should you stick with the Galaxy S4 or perhaps even the Galaxy S3? We'll find out in the video review part 2, which starts right now. It's part 2 of the review of the Samsung Galaxy S4 Mini, and while the device may appear to be a shrunken version of the Galaxy S4, the specs are dramatically different. So if you like the Galaxy S4 and you're thinking about getting this device and you think it's very similar to the Galaxy S4, well, in a lot of ways it's not, at least from a specification standpoint. You may be better off getting the Samsung Galaxy S3. Before we start into part 2, I want to give special thanks to our partners, good old Best Buy Mobile. When you walk into Best Buy Mobile, you'll walk out working, they'll get your email, contacts, camera settings, messaging, phone, all that good stuff set up, so when you walk out the door, you're working at Best Buy Mobile. Also want to thank Negri Electronics at negrielectronics.com. They hooked us up with this device, allowed us to get it and do a review for you. So part 2, let's kick it off. Here we go. So we'll take a look at the camera to start out, but before I do that, something I wanted to show you based on what I noticed just a few days ago. I actually did not catch this when I initially got the device. There's no notification light on this device. You do not get that. That is a key thing for me on my list of like top 10 things I like about cell phones. A notification light is key because I'm forever leaving a phone like this on my desk, and I need the ability to know if I'm getting an email or a text message. I don't want to keep doing this all day long, because that just kills the battery. So do not get a notification light on the Galaxy S4 Mini. But just to give you a quick recap of specs here, 1.7 gigahertz quad-core Snapdragon 400 CPU, 8 megapixel camera, front-facing shooter, 1,900 milliamp hour battery in the back. You get, what else? 1.5 gigabytes of RAM, Android 4.2, Jelly Bean with TouchWiz, so later version of Android, which is nice. And then you get some of the software goodies of the Samsung Galaxy S4, including Watch On, thanks to having the IR blaster up top. And then you get a couple of other things, Samsung Apps, Samsung Hub, S Voice, and then S Translator as well, which is a nice little touch, though you don't get S Health out of the box in this device. So if that's something that matters to you, forget the Galaxy S4 Mini. Let's jump into camera right now. Loaded up, 8 megapixel camera on this device, 1080p HD recording. You can see the overall camera interface very similar to the Galaxy S4, though you don't get the option to use both the front-facing and the front-facing and the rear camera, known as dual mode. You only can switch between your back camera and your front camera. You can see my pretty face. And then down here as well, you'll notice you get the effects vintage, posterized, solarized, blue, for example, but you don't get the real-time preview like you do on the Galaxy S4. You do get some modes though: auto, beauty face, best photo, continuous shot, best face, sound and shot, rich tone, panorama, sports, night, all kinds of good options to choose from. So if you're a photo taker, you may enjoy this device. Again though, I would take a look at the Galaxy S3 because not only can you get it subsidized on a carrier in the US, it packs some great specifications like 2 gigabytes of RAM, for example. In some ways, it's better from a spec standpoint than the Galaxy S4 Mini, though it is a little bit larger. So overall, like I said, design language very similar to the Galaxy S4. But you can see camera, take a picture of, what do I have? We'll take a picture of its brethren, the Galaxy S4, right here, and you can see it focused in nicely on the Samsung logo. Overall functionality very similar to what we've seen on previous Samsung devices. No real surprises here. Boom. Samsung, zoom in, and you can see the logo right there. It's Samsung on a Samsung. Mind blown. Let's take a look at quadrant standard as well and see how this dual-core processor rates up against the competition, even against its brothers. And we'll talk about battery life just a little bit. Now, battery life is an interesting misnomer here because this does not have 4G LTE capabilities. I'm running on a combination of HSPA and HSPA Plus on AT&T in Dallas. Coverage is great here. I've gotten, in terms of battery life, I've gotten almost a full day out of use out of this. With moderate to heavy use, I'm charging like right around 10 o'clock at night. So the battery's not going to be mind-blowing by any stretch of the imagination, but it's going to line up about on par, at least in my experience, kind of roughly with the Galaxy S3 and with some of the older Samsung Galaxy devices. It's not nearly as good as the Galaxy S4 or the Galaxy S4 Active, both of which pack a 2,600 milliamp hour battery, really a nice middle range between 3,100 milliamps, which is pretty huge, and 1,900 milliamp hours, which comparatively speaking is pretty small. Pretty decent though. Like I said, I can make it through most of the day with moderate use, but again, you may want to keep a charger nearby. Call quality is pretty good, volume sounds good, the speakerphone sounds good, really haven't had any problems with any of those. Sending benchmark results right now at 6,980 in quadrant standard, so a far cry from the 11 and 12,000 scores we're seeing from the HTC One and the LG Optimus G Pro and the Samsung Galaxy S4. So keep that in mind if you're a speed demon, and that is most of you watching this video. Cell phone nerds, myself included. Woot! Woot woot, holler at your boy. Anyway, S Translator, like I said, pre-installed. And we'll take a look really quickly here at some of the other software goodies as we close out this video. So overall, widgets, very similar to what you get on the S4. Over here, you got Weather Channel, which is an application I installed as a test. You got the typical Samsung stuff, briefing, typical Google stuff here, calendar. And you'll see because this is running Android 4.2, you have the ability to customize the lock screen here as well. So I can go into lock screen, I can add some lock screen widgets, throw those on. I can change this to a clock if I want to and get rid of the personal message. I can show the date. And let's see, favorite applications. I don't know why it's grayed out. That's interesting. We'll see here, notification panel, for example, I can customize that as well. So you've got a lot of the different personalization options that you have on the S4 and on the S4 Active, etc. Same thing here in messaging. You'll notice the background is a little bit different. It's got the lines. I've got all those different background options here also. So I can go into settings and change, for example. You'll notice the background is black though. Say background is black 3 times on camera. That's surprisingly hard. Harder than you would think. I can change the text bubbles around though and make them whatever I want to within reason. And I can do background style. I can either choose my own picture if I wanted to, or I could come over here and say something like that, or like that, for example. And now my text messages look entirely different. So nice customization options. Overall, really impressed with this device. It's a nice little unit, don't get me wrong, but I think for a lot of people it's going to be a little bit restrictive from a price standpoint if you're in a market that has it. And then for people like us that are based in the US and are either faced with the option of importing this or maybe getting it from like a Negri Electronics or an Expansys USA, it's $500 or $600. Maybe if you're lucky, get it for like $499, or I could walk into an AT&T store, a Verizon store, and get a Samsung Galaxy S4 right now for anywhere between free, depending on where you get it, to about $99. So I think for a lot of people, in countries that have it, it's a little bit overpriced. In countries that don't have it, it doesn't make sense to get this when you have the Galaxy S3, which is a perfectly good option in US carrier stores. That said, you do miss out on things like Watch On the Galaxy S3. You do miss out on S Translator and more, but you gain a faster processor overall. Boom, boom, boom. I should say, well, actually, it's not a faster processor. You get more RAM, you get a bigger battery, and you get 4G LTE capabilities. Still pretty quick device, so I like it. It fits in the hand. It's a cute little phone, and it fills the design language gap between the Galaxy S4, which is a pretty big device. Galaxy Note 2, it just brings it up into par with the rest of Samsung's product lineup. Keep it locked on PhoneDog.com. I'm on Twitter at PhoneDog_Aaron. Let me know what you think of the Galaxy S4 Mini on there or on Facebook at Facebook.com/HiAaronBaker. Thanks for watching. More to come on this tiny little Samsung Galaxy device on PhoneDog.com. I got to work on my high-pitched voice. Tiny little Galaxy device. That was better. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.